Guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another ESL podcast. Today is about Business Talk Season 2. That's right, people. Season 2, Episode 1. And today, I've got the wonderful Ebru back here with me today. The last time that we actually had done an episode, you may have seen it. It was back in October of last year. We talked about a number of different things in that specific podcast episode. But today, we're going to be speaking about stress. So, again, me and Ebru, we were talking about this. You're like, what's a really good topic that we could do? And I was like, you know what? Let's talk about like building wellness practices into our life, right?
Yeah.
Because what happens is when we have perpetual stress, it kills us early. We have higher rates of divorce. Some of the worst behaviors in the human condition comes from being stressed, right? It is a natural part of life. But to be honest with you, you could be the most extraordinary person in the world, such as the Dalai Lama. And some people would ask, hey, you know what? How do you overcome stress? And he laughs and he's like, hey, listen, I am stressed too. So it doesn't matter, Dalai Lama or not. This is what we're going to be, speaking about today. So again, Ebru, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Arsenio. Hi, everyone.
You're very, very, very welcome. And so what we're going to do is obviously, stress, whether it's outside the workplace, inside the workplace. If we look at 4 different ideas before we go in, we're going to be like hitting these off in different ways, right? So looking at stress, obviously in, in the workplace and how you obviously have been able to overcome that. How do you manage your own stress in general, Ebru?
Well, I don't know whether you remember, Arsenio, last year I ended up in hospital, and that was really due to stress. And I had kidney infection, and that was purely because I was working really long hours, and I was working for both schools. And I ended up in hospital for a week, and I suddenly realized that I needed to do something about my stress levels. And there are many things that I do. If I feel stressed in the workplace, I just go out for about 5 minutes and get some fresh air. That's the shortest thing that you can do. And also, I do Kundalini yoga, which is a lot about breath work. So it really, really helps to relieve stress, and meditation helps as well. So there are, little 5-minute things that you can do to relieve stress. Shall we also talk about, the sort of like external, internal stress as well?
Exactly. So we look at these simple, the simple practices such as relieving stress. Like me, man, I'm telling you, like 6 years ago when I used to get angry at my previous job, you know this story, Ebru.
Yep.
And I would go for the punching bag. Sometimes, I get too angry, back then. And I'm like, oh, well, there's no way I can meditate. You know why? Because I want to just cuss people out while meditating. So then I would go for a run, or I would laugh to disrupt that biochem that's happening.
That's right.
That all those disruptors and all that negative energy that's just pouring out of me. So then obviously I would say, you know what, let me just, here's another little practice. But if we look at this as a whole and looking at the internal and the external, I think the external, when it comes down to, before we get into those 3 big ideas, is like, when you look at the 10 areas of your life, so Ebru, that's your mission, that's your learning, that's your finances, that's your mental health, that's your health in general, that's your family and friends, the 10 areas of your life. And I look at these, like, is there stress there? And I would rate them on a scale 1 to 10 and to see how intense they are. So obviously, if I look at COVID, right?
Yeah.
And if you look at what COVID, like when it first happened, all like 90 to 95%, 80% minimum of all my finances got completely stripped at the time, right? So if I were to do this specific practice when that had happened, my stress level for finances would probably be at a max. You see what I mean? And so that's why I'm like, oh my God. And then obviously there are improvement strategies. So like when you look, going back to your story and looking at, geez, overworking, putting you in the hospital. And obviously looking at these little things that you could do both internally. What about external? Because I remember we ended up having a conversation, and you did make a switch. You did make a dramatic. I vaguely, okay, I apologize, but I remember you did make a switch. You did quit. Something had happened, and then it was kind of like a big bump up. What you walk us through that process?
I mean, when I ended up in hospital, and I had a lot of time to think, because I was there for a week, and I had a lot of time to think. That's all you can do, really, because you're in bed all day. I really looked at my life and decided what I needed to quit. So which meant working fewer hours,
right,
and doing things that I really love. Sometimes stress comes from things that you don't want to do.
Damn.
And,
okay, here we go. Here we go.
You have to pay bills, etc. So so I really had to think about what I want from life, because you change perspective when you go through something traumatic like that. And
amazing, huh?
And I started spending more time on my own projects rather than working for others. I still work for one school at least, but you realize that you've got to take care of yourself, and you've got to do things that you love. Because I do believe that there's bad stress and good stress, and good stress is you are doing what you love, and
preach, come on,
and you can preach. Deal with that stress, because you're so involved in your whatever task or project you're doing, and you don't mind that that stress. It doesn't affect the body like the bad stress does. It pushes you to it pushes you forward to do things that you want to.
Creativity.
Exactly. Yeah. So I had to rearrange my life in such a way that that I live my dream life, or strive to become something that I want to become. So that's what happened after that.
And I'm glad you pointed that out, because again, me just being so grateful for, especially, the, like I was just telling you right before the podcast, the almost soon to be 500,000 downloads of this ESL podcast. Thank you so much. A big shout out to all the listeners and the one viewer I have right now. And so, I got jokes. That's a live episode. They're like,
the club is growing. Don't worry.
Yes. It's terrible. Sunny go. What ended up happening was, when you talk about good stress, I just want to point that, because when you started focusing on things in regards to you and the things that you wanted to build, the good stress is actually it stimulates it stimulates the imagination. It stimulates your creativity, and that's probably what was happening. Exactly. Then you're able to look back and say, and I could listen, April last year, and I'm actually going over this right now. It's Danielle Laporte's oh my God, it's an incredible course, and I actually wrote it down, saying that last April, when again everything has shut down again, and then one of the companies that I was training at ended up saying, hey, listen, we're shutting down till further use. They haven't come back, but guess what else has come back? It's just been an amazing drive in the upward. And so going back what I was a year ago in January and saying, oh my God, everything's shut down again. What am I going to do? In April, I said, okay, all right, Arsenio, well, you start at zero. Let's go get it. I accepted the challenge. See, that's good stress. You know what I mean? That good stress is like, hey, okay, your back is against the wall. Let's see how creative we can get. Let's see what is working. What 3 things were working last year and can begin and continue working right now. And so I
That's right.
started looking
Yeah.
up statistics, and I said, oh, I'm going to focus on this. And it ended up blowing up. You know what I mean? And so,
And also
yeah,
you
yeah.
change your mindset as well. Because if you had stayed with the same mindset, you would have continued to be, stressed, and you would have had that bad stress that would have
Yep.
affected you mentally and physically. Yeah. Yeah.
You see what I mean?
So it's
Same
all about
mindset, fixed mindset, bad stress,
stress.
growth
That's right.
mindset, good stress. You
Correct.
see? And so a lot of people need to understand exactly that. And so going back to you and giving everyone that first big idea, the first big idea in terms of handling stress, it's about expectations. See, the majority of
Mhm.
stress actually comes from unrealized or unconscious expectations, right?
Right.
You know, we wanted something like this, but it ended up turning out like this,
Yeah.
right? Are you
Yeah.
stressed when everything goes well? Probably not. You know, you're stressed when something doesn't go well. It could be as
Mm.
little as being stuck in traffic. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? That's where the stress and that bad stress begins to
Yeah.
skyrocket. You see what I mean? And so if you go back to where you were during that time where you ended up getting unfortunately sick and stuff, did you have expectations to why you were getting so stressed, let's say in the workplace or something?
Um, it was more to do with, yes, I have my own, high expectations, but also I have to deal with the high expectations of the organization. And at the time that I was ill and was still working was when we had the inspection, the British Council
Oh.
inspection, observing us in class.
Mm.
And I was teaching over 30 hours, which is a lot. So that stress just built up over time in that week.
Mm.
So it was at that time it was more dealing with other people's expectations than my own. Obviously, I put pressure on myself as well
Yep.
because I didn't want to lose my job. Um, but I find that dealing with other people's expectations is a lot stressful than dealing with my own, and that's something that I'm working on. Trying to detach myself from other people's expectations because you don't
Mm.
want that extra stress on you.
You see what I mean? You
Yeah,
see what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And that's
I,
what it comes down to.
exactly. And I think looking back, I could have maybe asked for help. And I think here in the West, we don't want to ask for help because that shows a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's really important to ask for help. It shows
Mm.
that you're strong, and when the day comes, you'll help that person when they are stressed.
Mm.
So it's really really important to ask for help, I think.
Right, right. And then going back to, work, relationships, and everything in general, to have a clear conversation or a pre conversation about expectations before that big thing is massive. So if
Mm,
we look at, oh my God, I don't know, let's say you and your team, you're going to take on a huge project, but then you don't say, hey, let's clear this up. Who's in charge? When's the deadline? When is this? When's that?
mhm.
Nobody knows who's in charge, and you don't have that pre-conversation. So the expectations of doing the new project is very high, but no one knows what they're doing. And then what ultimately ends up happening, there's a lot of finger pointing. Hey, why are you doing this? Why is this happening? What's happening over here? What
Mm.
the hell are these fools doing? I'm about to go out there and cut you. You see, I'm trying to be a good American. I'm trying to be a good American right now. Okay. I'll start throwing sandals at these people. Okay. Oh my God. Okay. You see what I mean? That's stress. Let that back. No, no.
Let it go, Senior.
Let
Let it
let
go.
let them clowns behind you just hit sticks and stuff on their gates. And I want them to hear me too. You hear me? I'm terrible. I
Yeah.
swear. People don't act like me, please. Oh my God. 2 Arsenio's, this world is over.
Yeah.
Okay. Boy. Okay. So, anyways, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
So, if we look at this, if you don't set boundaries at the beginning, By the time it gets late, it's too late. It's too late. If you don't set boundaries in the beginning about what is expected. So maybe before you go out on a trip, you ask your spouse, hey, you know what? We're going to the beach today. How would you like this to go? What do you expect? And that's how you manage expectations. Alas, saving you the misery later. So I don't know. Like, have you ever,
it's
tried doing that before? Yes.
Yeah, communication is key. It's when we assume the other person knows what they're supposed to do. That creates, stress in them as well as us later. You were talking about, project, and I think when you take on a big project, one, communication is key, and two, it's important to break down the big project into small tasks, because when you get overwhelmed with something, that creates stress as well. You and I, we're solopreneurs in a way, and when we take on something big, we need to break them down into small tasks so that we can one, manage our stress, and two, manage to complete the tasks. So I think both communication and dealing with being overwhelmed can help us to reduce stress significantly, I think.
And asking for the help, going back to what you said about asking for help in terms of what? So if you're like in the workplace, or if you're taking on a project or this or that, sometimes our egos always take over and say, no, I can do everything. But the thing is that I can do everything attitude is actually like kind of an alpha toxic, I can do everything type of mask. You know what I mean? And so to say, you know what? No. All right, I'm going to go from here. I need a little bit of help. Listen, we're going on a big trip. Could you please help me with this and this? I'll do this and this. You know what I mean? It's like that clear communication, or on the job. Listen, I got too much on my plate right now. I need a little bit of help, and that's all there is to it. Okay, so are you going to help me? That clear communication is everything. So
I mean, I could have asked one of my colleagues to cover my classes while I was recovering, because there were days where I was feeling really like sick. I had pain all around my stomach and my back, and I could have just asked one of my colleagues to cover my lesson, and I didn't, and that was my fault. It was my responsibility. You'd be surprised how your colleagues and your managers can be so helpful. And I think more and more companies, because of COVID especially, are much more focused on their employees' well-being. I think COVID changed a lot of things around how managers treat their employees.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I think man, I don't know. It's so hard for me to speak. Like if I speak from a perspective of obviously being out here in Thailand and stuff like that, I'm sure there are some managers that actually help with finances, to help with this and that. By the way, you probably heard my microphone change because I didn't want so much back microphone from my main mic, because I did all that stuff in the back. So I got my microphone here, and hopefully you don't hear any other chatter. I think we're all good now. For now, until these specimen. Yeah, that's a good noun. Come on, specimen. That could be good or bad. Okay, open to interpretation. Okay, motherfucker. Oh, I almost said a bad word. Okay, so here we go. Let me get back on here. So if we go back to people who manage, expectations and stuff like that, and looking at how managers, some companies do, some companies don't. Some companies, they lack empathy. Some fat cats, they lack empathy for their employees to say, hey, I see that you're going through a lot. Listen, we're here to help you. There's a lot of role play discussions in terms of bosses saying, listen, you go work from home 2 days a week. You have this on Wednesday. You could do this on Tuesday and Thursday. We're helping you manage the stress because as an accountant, you got to get the numbers right. As a sales, you got to be able to make the sale. As a this, as a that, everyone has a function and they have to perform it. Being stressed in any little shape or form is not going to allow you to get to that level. And then everyone else performance, KPIs, they suffer, right? And so if we look at expectations, we got that. Boom. Then we got the second big idea, right? Which is the physiological approach, which you had mentioned before. So it could be like a release tension technique. It could be releasing thoughts. You could have a mantra. So when we talk about meditation, and meditation
I
still
like your punching bag as well. I think that could be a form of meditation.
You know what I'm saying? The punching bag. Okay, there was one time I was so bad. Oh, I'm not even going to get into that story, but some guy trying to put some hands on me. And I said, bro, if you put hands on me, I'm going to put you to sleep. I'm going to put you to sleep. And I said, I'm trying to be a good American here. You know what I'm saying? I said, I'm trying to be good. I'm trying to.
Dear Lord, help me.
Oh yeah, you know what I mean. I'm not religious or anything, but hey, boy, whoever's up anywhere out there, you better take my soul away because I'm about to give him the soul. You know what I mean? So, but again, like journaling, I would have to say journaling. So if we look at meditation and everything, and people that being a market that a lot of people don't understand just yet. If we look at like journaling in general, at least we're able to write down and track our thoughts, right? So when we're able to write down and track our thoughts and look at a trend saying, ooh, Monday was like this, Tuesday was like this, Wednesday was like this. So what is the source? So I don't know, Ebru. Because we're not able to track our thoughts. It's beyond and impossibly difficult to even control your thoughts in general. So when we look at, let's say, when we look at like journaling, at least we're able to look at a trend. So I've been doing this a lot, especially this week, because I feel like I'm letting too many of the positive moments in my life pass by, and I'm not capturing them as they are a photo. I'm not like, you know what I mean? Like last week, and just like 2 days ago, buying saltwater fish. I know it sounds crazy, but baby, I got me some Nemos. Get jealous. So many great things that are happening. You know what I mean? And they happen on such a continuous basis. Whereas if I do not track and capture these thoughts, they just go by. The next, I'm the first one that says, "Oh yeah, that specimen." You see what I mean? And so these things happen so quick, and so I could track the thoughts by writing things down. So what do you think? Morning routine, maybe setting up your mindset, getting everything out, or the evening journal, being able to release anything negative that happened throughout the day, but also write down 3 positive things that happened that day. I don't know. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, I haven't done journaling for a long time, but what I do in the mornings is think about, what 3 positive things I can focus on. Because when you focus on positive things, when you during your day you search for positive things, then you let go of the negative things that can happen in your in your day. And I think also being an observer of your thoughts is really, really important. So you're doing the journaling, which is one way of observing your thoughts, and I'm more sort of good as as a mental note of what I think, how I react to certain things, and then I ask myself, oh, I wonder why I reacted this way, and try to understand. And I think I mentioned in our last podcast episode that I also go to therapy, and therapy has really helped me to be much more self-aware and understand my actions, where they come from, and all of where my habits come from, where my limitations come from. So yeah, journaling and being an observer of your thoughts, focusing on the positive things, and being grateful for the things that you have, and therapy. Those really, really help with your stress levels, definitely.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it just keeps coming back to asking for help. And so,
Yeah.
you haven't, talked about therapy, there are a lot of, it's so funny because rejection is a big one, right? And so
Mm,
that doesn't necessarily equal stress. But if we look at rejection as a whole, there was a moment where someone had literally altered my identity by what they had said. And I
mm,
had told you this before, and the comment was, quote, "You black man, low class pimp."
mm.
And me, I literally created that as an opinion, and that was like my backdrop, my story for everything. Anything that I accomplished in life, I always went back to that opinion and said, "Yeah, see, black people this," and I always felt like I had to prove to someone whose face I don't even remember. And so
Mm,
when we look at this and how that ended up altering my identity, I had to go back and say, you know what? I feel like there are things in my past that are still holding me back.
mm,
And so
mm.
to sum that up very quickly, some people who are probably listening to this podcast, you may have been born into stress.
Mm.
Your mother could have been stressed while carrying you.
Yeah,
You could have been stressed at 5 years old. There were times that I was
exactly.
stressed because I was living with my father. Stress could be just part of who you have always
Yeah,
been. But to be honest
yeah.
with
You
you,
inherit
and
that stress.
yeah,
Mm,
you see what I
mm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's not like genetic stress or anything, but might just be so freaky outish. Have you ever met someone so freaky outish? I just created that word. And it's just someone's like just like always ants and just, oh my god, yeah, oh my god, I gotta get this done, oh my god, and always worrying, and I'm like, holy shit, calm the you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
need to calm the down. What is
Yeah.
wrong with you? And so that's that stress, and that's not good stress. That's
It's
stress
not,
that they've
no.
been taught. And
Yeah.
so getting that help, such as me getting a transformation coach, such as you going to therapy and saying to myself, you know what? If I don't overcome my past, I don't think I'm not going to be able to get to the next place, whatever
That's
that
right.
may
Yeah.
be. And so when I
Yeah.
finally did that, and then now the continual working on myself, and even when I do feel stressed, I'm like, okay, hold on. Where are these feelings coming from? I hurry up and I locate the source. Some
Mm,
things are just going to happen to us, and we got to change that perception. So if you're stuck in traffic and you've been driving in that same traffic for 10 years and you've been complaining for 10 years
mm.
driving in that same traffic, you have not changed your mindset whatsoever.
Exactly.
Holy fuck, you are suffering. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And also, like, coming back to rejection, we tend to think rejection is a negative thing, but
Yep.
it just means that there's something better out there for you. Let's
Right.
say, you apply for jobs and you get rejected. It doesn't mean that, that you're a bad person, you're not qualified, but there's something better for you out there. And you have
Right.
to, um, shift your focus onto, other opportunities rather than just moaning and complaining that they didn't hire you for whatever reason. Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe just saying, hey, maybe I'm not ready for this.
Mm,
Like
mm,
one of my I got some some folks that I actually know, and they're applying to like Procter and Gamble and stuff like that,
mm,
and
mm.
I'm like, okay, now just understand, if you don't get the job, always say, okay, I'm not ready for that, what skills do I need to improve,
Yeah.
so when the opportunity does come and I end up working for a competitor, then I can say, Proctor, what's up, bitch? Nah, you don't want to go back and do that. Don't be like me,
Yeah.
okay? Don't be like me, okay? But always being
Yeah.
able to, to say, oh, okay, I've been denied. Now, obviously, me and my story out here in Thailand, we don't know. It could go both ways, but luckily, I do not go out and look for work. I
It
have
comes to you.
become my own economy. You know what I mean? Because
Exactly. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
developed those three key skills that were the biggest drivers in scaling my business and scaling who I am over the past couple
Mm,
of years. So now to scale that even further, I need to better three other skills, which I'm focusing on this year. And so a lot of people, instead of, like you said, constantly blaming this, that, saying, oh, well, it's because I'm black, which I always use, and that may be the truth. It may be the truth. But guess what? After getting that email 22 months later, when I had applied to a job in January of
Mm.
2020, and then them getting back in contact with me saying, we're trying to get back in contact with you. I said, oh, excuse me. I train at some of the biggest companies here in Bangkok, and I have major clients around the world. I'm unable
Mm.
to take any more work right now, but I do wish you the best in all of your future endeavors and you finding a teacher. Boom! Just like that. I said, get the hell out of my face. Boom! You see what I mean? So, anyways,
Yeah,
going back to that whole situation, it's like, okay, what skills do I need to better in order to go from here to here?
yeah,
So, you
yeah.
said it yourself.
And also, that just shows that you've done a lot of personal development, and that helped you with your professional development. I think
Mm,
those two go hand in hand. And
right,
instead of, just complaining all the time, you did
right.
something about it. And, later in life, you're not going to have any regrets because you took action,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And it's that
Mhm.
action, right? That's one of the
Yes.
biggest key words. That
Yeah.
action. So many people in 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old. I don't want anyone to be on death's bed or in their last moment saying, do you have any regrets? Oh, I regret not doing this. I regret not. It's always something action based. And so
That's right.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, and again, this could come with stress in terms of, oh, I'm not sure if they're going to accept me.
Mm.
You see what I mean? But if we look at the law of averages, out of 1,000 people who you come in contact with, only seven, and those are the seven freaks, are the only ones that may not like you whatsoever.
Mm.
Okay, so that means there are going to be 993 people who do appreciate you and who
Yeah.
do not have problems with you. So you've already beaten out, rejection in general. There it is,
Yeah.
right there. That's the
Yeah.
end of rejection.
Yeah. And
And
you can also
so,
stay in your, authentic self as well. Um, if, people unfollow you, then, let them go. Doesn't matter. You don't have to, worry about it because you've got the people that really love you for who you are rather than
exactly.
who, you know, they want you to be. So, um, I think that's, really important. And yeah, action is so important. You can have all the knowledge in the world, and but if you don't take action, then nothing happens.
Right.
No,
And a
no
lot of that
progress.
action, right. And a lot of that action doesn't take place because, and I'm going to make you thinking that you have to do everything and get in that support. We're going to make that
Mm,
the third and the last biggest idea. Release it and say, man, no, you don't have to do it all. Because if we look at
exactly.
your biggest ambition, like, what is that? And that's the question for everyone right now. What is your biggest ambition in life? And I don't want to hear, I want to earn a lot of money. You get all the money in the world, you're still fucked.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to change who you are. You need to grow
Yeah.
into the money. So many people, and I know because they're all money centered, and they think, oh, I'm gonna get all the money. Look at Kanye. Okay, that man is fucked beyond belief. Okay, the majority of those people who are because they don't want to invest into their own personal development.
Mm,
So even though you get all that money, you're going to be broke and bankrupt within 2 years because you're not ready mentally for the money. Okay.
mm.
So people stop chasing the money. That's number one. Number two, your biggest ambition, you don't have to do everything, such
No.
as me with entrepreneurship. I got help 3 years ago. And now I'm being coached right now by Bender Bishard and HPX series in terms of if I'm going to hire someone, what types of people? Like, is this going to be someone who generates revenue? So this is me, or is this going to be someone that does the task? That you see what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
looking for help. I'm looking for that support. Maybe today is one of
Mm,
those days you go on the internet and say, I need to look for help, not a pity party, but a vision party. If you're
mm,
someone's like dealing with, depression or this or that or stress in general, you don't want to join another group with a whole bunch of other stress people talking about stress problems. There's no action behind that.
mm,
You're just gonna
mm.
all just verbally vomit into the same cup. That sounds terrible. That sounds disgusting. Yeah,
TMI, asking you
yeah, that sounds
TMI.
terrible. That sounds terrible. You're just gonna end up just diving into the same pool and you're just going to make it filthy. That's a better metaphor.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So again, like asking someone, okay, so you want to do this, you want to have that wedding here, you want to go on that holiday, you want to hire this person, okay, well, but I need help and I do this and you do this. This could be with the spouse, this could be with a best friend, this could be with anything. It's all about structuring out your support. So,
Yeah.
Ebru, when it comes to going back to obviously asking for help and you getting the help you need, how much has that taken off the stress in your life? How much of that
Uh,
stress has been relieved in terms of asking for help, whether it's professional or personal or whatever it may be?
a lot, a lot. I mean, it really, like, it's significantly reduced my stress levels.
Right.
And I work for a wonderful school where the managers are very understanding and
That's what you
colleagues
told me.
are so lovely, and they help me, but at the same time I help them if they're stressed out. So it works both ways. I mean, that's what teamwork is about.
Right.
It's about helping each other, and helping the other person to be less stressful so that they can perform and be the best version of of themselves.
Right.
So yeah, help is a huge thing. Don't you know ask for help. Don't be shy about it. It
And
is not a
and
sign of weakness.
and that's the key thing right there. It's
Yeah.
not a sign of weakness.
hmm
And so many people, and like you had already stated earlier, in the Western world, they look at asking for help as a sign of weakness. Oh, you need to
Mm.
do it with it. It's that very toxic mindset that a lot of people possess. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And them possessing that type of mindset, and they're just like, oh yeah, we play football. We're supposed to be this tough. We're supposed to do this. And I'm like, you ain't supposed to do nothing. That's just your way of
Yeah.
normality, and your normality is not my
Yeah.
normality. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
you can keep it. How about that?
Yeah.
Keep it. Not saying it's wrong. You keep it. You
Yeah.
shove it up. No, don't shove it nowhere. But you see, that was me saying, okay, keep it was okay, Arsenio.
The
Shove it
episode is
in.
becoming X-rayed.
X-rated. It started sounding like a little X-rated, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh man. But yeah,
We should,
those are
we
some.
should have like I've seen you after dark. That's what you should have like.
Yeah,
And then,
was so. I was doing a side note for everyone out there. I did. It wasn't even. It was like a one series, one off. It was ridiculous. It was a author that overcame some unbelievable trials and tribulations. The stories she had given, holy goodness, and
hmm,
it was like I forgot what we had coined it, but it was me and her, and we coined it. I think it was Arsenio Buck. It was the something show after dark. And so
yeah.
you just said it. You took the words right out of it. So right when you said that, I said, Ebru, I actually did have that. It was just one episode, but bang, bada bing, bada boom. You know what I mean? So hey, check mark. I got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Check. You
That'll be your
see?
third podcast.
Right. And so, but yeah, like
Hmm,
in saying that, and we look at those three ideas, and and to sum this up, I really do hope that a lot of people are able to at least start journaling. Now, again, it wasn't so much about stress; it was more about depression. Probably about 3 years ago, there was a friend who was having suicidal thoughts, and I had known her from college, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna help you. And I gave her a whole bunch of voice notes, and then I sent someone to help her in her way. And I'm like, listen, this is an author, this is a coach. She is one of the most amazing people I know. And she's like, oh well, I'm not really ready for that. And I said, are you gonna be ready when you're in a casket?
hmm,
And so again, not being shy and shutting that ego up,
hmm,
because I think there are
hmm.
just so many people out there that just do not want to take that leap simply because they just feel like, oh, I'm macho. No, I don't need that help. I don't know. No, you are having suicidal thoughts, buddy.
Mm,
Okay.
mm,
You're overstressed, you're overeating, your nutrition, your health is deteriorating, whatever your relationships are falling apart.
mm.
That's when you say, okay, make a choice. Choice
Yeah.
is what it comes down to. And a lot of people,
But
they're unwilling to take that.
and also take action. I think, stress can be something to do with the future. You're thinking
Mhm.
about what's going to happen. It hasn't
Right.
happened and you're stressed out, you're stressed about it. But
Yep.
it's going back to, yes, making a choice, but also taking action. Going
Right.
back to the present, what can I do right now
Right.
to reduce my level of stress, or to not to think about, suicidal thoughts.
Right.
It's, action is a, I think, huge thing for
Right.
me. Yeah.
Right. And going back to, it could be triggers.
Hmm.
I think watching any news could just
Yeah.
completely destroy your entire mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, there's some days wake up a little angry or whatnot, and I'm like, man, why did I wake up angry? Well, what did I consume last night for the last hour?
Mm.
What did I consume for the first 10, 20, 30 minutes of the day? What did I see? Hmm. You see what I mean? And so
Yeah.
those little things can ultimately end up triggering a lot of feelings and stressful feelings and
Mm.
stuff like that too. So this is why I urge so many people out there to look at your environment in general. And,
Mm.
Ebru, you could be, a testament of that, saying, oh, okay, well, this job, this is happening, that's happening. I'm not really liking this. Who do I need to get in touch with, like right
Mm.
now,
Who do
about
I need
this
to surround
specific thing?
myself with as well?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. And saying, you know what? Oh man, okay. What can I do on a consistent basis to start overcoming this? How can I schedule it into my day? There was a guy, okay, and I'm gonna sum this up. This is how we break things down. This is how goal setting is. But you could do goal setting with stress.
Mm.
And so there
Hmm.
was one of my students was like, hey, you know what? Okay, I want to lose 20 kilos. I said, okay, I'll see you in 1 week. Let's see how much you lost. And so then he comes back and he lost 5 in 1 week. And I said, what the fuck? How'd you lose 5? He's like, oh, I'm fasting. I said, oh my God, I don't know if that's sustainable. But if you lost 5 kilos, you come back looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm all cool with it. And so again, it's all about easing into it also,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like
Absolutely.
me, if I'm stressed or if I'm not feeling well, okay, and that feeling well could be stressful, whatever related, I
Mm.
ask myself, what's my diet? What have I been eating so much that it's just not good? Well, I love gummy bears. How long have I been eating them for? 13 years. Okay, how many bags a day do you eat? 3. Oh my God. Let's trim this down, Arsenio. Let's go 2 bags a day, but only 3 days a week. I lost 1.5 kilos and I didn't even know. I just checked my
Mm.
weight right now and I'm like, oh yeah, see, I knew I was getting that 60 packy backy, baby. Oh man, I was doing the whole little Macarena dance, hey Macarena, but looking good, looking like
Yeah.
a Greek Wakanda god. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and so you know what I mean? So I took a
Yeah.
step. I made a choice. So are you
Yeah.
gonna make a choice and alleviate some of the stress by asking help from brothers, sisters, peers,
Exactly.
friends?
Hmm.
How are you going to schedule it into your day? First hour of the day, morning routine, meditate, exercise, do this, do that.
Mm.
So many people, they just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so now I'm giving you the tools. Let's put it into and come back in 3 months. Okay.
Mm.
When Ebru and I do another podcast to say, oh my God, I listened to your podcast. I was so stressed out, but guess what? I ended up taking up, some of your, some things. And I said, what can I put more into my day, or what can I take out? Because some things are obviously making you stress, whether it's the kids, or maybe you need to openly communicate with your kids. Hey, listen, kids, let's have a talk. Maybe
Mm.
you need to manage your expectations and say, oh, my expectations are here, but I'm getting this. Maybe because you didn't speak clearly and communicate across to the individuals you live with, or at your workplace, or your personal life, or your spouse, or whatever it may be.
Mm.
When you
Mm.
start doing this, these are going to help.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. Hmm. Hmm.
Whew.
Yeah.
And so, in saying that, Ebro, fantastic. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
hope
thank
everyone
you,
out there
Arsenio.
enjoyed this wonderful podcast. You are very welcome. Thank you so much for coming on to this beautiful one. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was fire. It was
was,
a lot of
yeah.
actionable things and a lot of
Yeah.
big ideas that we talked about. The introduction, breaking it all down, and seeing how everyone could go about not only handling just stress, but anything that brings whatever type of negative feelings into your life.
Mm,
You can begin to get your nice little day planner, as I always do, and I
yeah.
make sure I write things down in my Friday finishers and my Monday mindset and what intention I want to bring. What do you expect from me on this specific? Start bringing
Mm,
it to the table, and let's see how much better you get in 3 months' time. So,
exactly. Yeah.
Ebru, thank you so much for coming on, Ebru.
Thank you, Arsenio. And thank you to all the listeners.
You're very, very welcome. So, anyways, with that being said, people, make sure you follow Ebru on my IG. Make sure you follow her or follow me on IG, Arsenio's ESL podcast. Again, if you haven't been following me, shame on you. You can as of today. So I'll be waiting for everyone. And obviously, Ebru's on my ESL podcast page as well as the Facebook page that is being broadcasted on. Again, if you guys have any other big questions that you would like both her and I to ask, or whether you would like it on IG and stuff like that too, let me know. And again, if you guys would like more material and obviously the future, you let us know. But with that being said, again, thank you to Ebru and thank you to everyone listening to me. We'll be seeing you in the next Business Talks. Thanks again, Ebru.
Thank you. Bye bye.